Hello, everyone. Welcome to Chelsea Perspective. Today, we're going to talk about the curious case of Ruben Loftus-Cheek, who was once talked about as the most technically gifted talent to have come through the Chelsea Academy. But in recent days, it's looking more like things has taken a turn for the worse for the player, and hopefully that's not the case. And I have with me in the studio today Taron CFC. No need to introduce him again, but at the end of the show, I will leave his complete information so that you will go check out his podcast. It is very, very good, and I've listened to a few of the episodes myself, and I'm still listening to even more. So I advise you go try it yourself. So Teron, what do you think about the case of Ruben Loftus-Cheek? And like I've said during the introduction, he was once talked about as one of the most technically gifted talent to have come through the Chelsea Academy. But in recent months, it's looking more like things have taken a turn for the worse for him. Well, hopefully, like I said, that's not the case. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, when I was watching him in 2018-19, the way he evolved in the Maurizio Sarri, I honestly thought he was going to be a starting midfielder for the years to come. And then that preseason tournament, preseason kind of match caused a really serious injury to his Achilles, similar to Hudson-Odoi, but I think it was much more serious. And we've seen this season, even at Fulham, I was looking for something, something to scream out to us that he's worth to come back and worth to fight for his place. But what I saw this season, even though he was recovering, we saw Hudson-Odoi, he had flashes last season where he was coming back to his best. But with Loftus-Cheek, I just saw a player who was, I know injuries are very unfortunate, but at this club, we need the best players on the pitch at all times. We don't really have time for sentiment. We're in a winning business. We don't have time to wait for Loftus-Cheek to recover and Moulay Kadouim to be a starter. We have to have all the best players. We've signed Kai Havertz because Loftus-Cheek has gone out. And yes. For me, it just looks like it doesn't look like great for Loftus-Cheek. And we'll talk about the links with Lazio a bit later, I'm sure. But right now,
yes.
It's a bit unfortunate because, when we watched him, he was driving past players. He has the physicality and the technical ability, which you don't see with a lot of players. The link up with Emerson and Hazard was really beautiful. But it's unfortunate what's happened. But, this is football. These things happen.
Yeah, but before that unfortunate injury to him, we all felt like he's arrived, that this is his time to shine because he was starting games. He was phenomenal. He was scoring goals, assisting goals, and he was making some runs in the midfield. He adds something different to the team. And unfortunately, what happened, and we were all the fan base were complaining about why play him in a friendly match in the United States where he got the injury. Even Sarri himself wasn't happy. But like you said, these things happen. And okay, that's by the way. Let's talk about his return from that woeful injury. When he came back, he started a few games under Frank Lampard, and we were hoping that he's back for good. But he underperformed in the games he started. It wasn't that bad. We've had players even under Tuchel who started games and performed worse than he did in those games. But it looked like after those games, he hit the panic button. He just took off. He couldn't, he didn't. It looked as if he didn't have the urge to continue fighting. He ran away and decided to go on loan because from what I heard, it doesn't look like the club wanted him to go on loan. It doesn't look like it was Frank's advice for him to go on loan. And that isn't helpful. What do you think about that?
Yeah, you mentioned how he kind of came back in and played a few games. Aston Villa was the first game back after the huge lockdown we had, and he played like on the wings. And in that game, I don't remember anything he did well, to be honest. And, he had many months to recover from that injury during lockdown to work with the physio team. It's not like Lampard would just start an unfit player for that game. He was clearly fit to start, and he didn't do anything. The Brighton game, which was his kind of last straw for me this season, where he was playing kind of up front with Timo Werner. He missed the sitter in that chance. He could have played with Timo Werner, and he couldn't get it through Lewis Dunk. For me, it just looked like Loftus-Cheek's kind of seen the attacking talent coming through. He saw Havertz be signed. He saw Barkley was gotten rid of. And he kind of thought, this club, maybe I'm going to go to a club where I can play week in, week out. And, fair enough to him if he wants to do that. But the players I want to see at this club are the ones that are going to fight. Mason Mount probably didn't have the easiest journey to the club. He went on loan to Vitesse. He went on loan to Derby. And he fought for his place. And now he's starting under Thomas Tuchel. And he's starting for Gareth Southgate at England. These are the type of players that last. Loftus-Cheek for me now stands out as a player who will not go down as a big player in Chelsea's history. Mason Mount strikes me as a player who will. These other players, Reece James, Tino Livramento possibly, who looks like he's trying to stay at the minute. There's a lot of these players that come through Chelsea and leave. We're kind of a recycling club at times. But, with Loftus-Cheek, I saw a player who had a lot of potential and kind of gave up due to unfortunate circumstances.
How old is he now?
I believe he is 25 years old.
And don't you think, had he stayed at the club, then he opted to go out on loan. Had he stayed and continued playing, he would have been fully integrated into the team and probably be part of the team, the 11, if not the first, the starting 11 that won us the UEFA Champions League. Because maybe he was too, should I say, he was trying too hard to impress or to play himself into the team, because he's got the quality. It was, like I said before, it wasn't like that's the worst performance we've seen in the team. There are players under Thomas Tuchel who's done quite bad and performed so badly, even more than he did under Frank Lampard. Don't you think if he had stayed, that he could have been or would have been part of the team that won us the Champions League and probably be starting games? And I'm sure you've heard Thomas Tuchel talk about him.
Yeah, I've seen Thomas Tuchel make a few comments about Loftus-Cheek, saying he knows of him from his Germany days in the Bundesliga. He watched him, his coaching staff like Arnold Michaels and the other guy he has to watch him. But yeah, Loftus-Cheek, if he would have stayed at us, I think Lampard's system that we were playing before was perfect for Loftus-Cheek. It was a 4-3-3. He could have played in one of the attack and 8 roles and kind of played behind Jorginho or Kante, and that could have worked out really well. But yeah, I mean, it's difficult what really happened to him. He went out on loan. And, a Fulham system where I say he needed to perform and really show us that he was an amazing player. He didn't really do that at all. Even in a system that could have been suited to him, it was a tight possession-based system. It's not like Fulham were a counter-attacking team. It was really perfect for what happened in that game. And, yeah, I think it's unfortunate because if he was playing with Thomas Tuchel right now, I think he could have played in the double six role. He could have played in the left or right inverted forward role. And we've seen even with Abraham, who hasn't played much, he's still
or even further forward.
Exactly, maybe as a false 9 as well, like a Kai Havertz role. We've seen with Abraham, with Reece James, with Billy Gilmore, maybe Reece James. They didn't really play the biggest role, but they still are Champions League winners now. I'm sure Loftus-Cheek would have rather stayed here and won the Champions League than gone out on loan and got relegated with Fulham. I mean, it's his decision at the end of the day that he decided to do that. I mean, if I was in his shoes in that exact moment, I've just recovered from an injury, I kind of would want to fight for my place. I'm 25 years old. I don't want to go out on loan again. It's not like I'm 19, 18, like Mason Mount, like Conor Gallagher, like Mark Gurhey. I want to stay and fight at this age. And, he left and it's up to him, to be honest.
Overall, would you say the loan deal was a mistake on his part?
Yeah, I'd say it was, because apart from gaining back a bit of fitness, I don't see what else has benefited him from. If he would have stayed with Lampard, he could have shown him what he wants from him in training and fought for his place.
He would have favored him, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And at Fulham, I'm sure if Thomas Tuchel was watching these performances, he would have thought, you know what, I don't really favour this guy. He's not even starting for Fulham. There's other players like Harrison Reed and Zambo Anguissa who are starting over him. If you want to start for Chelsea, you need to either prove to the manager that you're good enough or go out and have an amazing loan, as we saw with Mason Mount at Derby and Vitesse. And he's not done that. So I think it was a massive mistake to go out on loan, in my opinion. If I was to go out on loan for Loftus-Cheek, it would have been to an Everton, a Wolves, a Southampton, a mid-table side, not a team who are in a relegation fight.
Or even not go on loan. Go on loan, because we have a very big squad, and that's why we're Chelsea. You always get some game time to prove that you can do it consistently and play yourself into the team. So we can all argue that overall that loan move was a mistake on his. Whoever made that decision made a very bad mistake, because he could have, if he had stayed and also keep playing, because he just came back from injury. There's no way we don't expect him to be perfect immediately, So we understood then that it's something that's going to take time for him to come back to the start playing just as the Ruben Loftus-Cheek that we've all known to love, his style of play and everything, and his technical abilities. Anyway, that's by the way. Okay, let's talk about his rumored loan move to Lazio. If he really believes he has a future at Chelsea, do you think it's the right decision for him to leave on loan again?
For me, if he goes to Lazio, his career's over at Chelsea. And I know if he has a stormer at Lazio and he gets 30, I think this is a bit naive, 30 goals and like 10 assists or something, then I think Maurizio Sarri is going to sign him on a permanent. If he has a poor season and he gets, the same as this season, then he's going to be sold from Chelsea. So either way, I think if he goes off to Lazio, he's given up on his career at Chelsea. I kind of felt that from Fulham when he went out on loan. There's reports that Conor Gallagher is willing to fight for his place. Marker, he's willing to fight for his place. I haven't seen any that Loftus-Cheek's ready to fight for his place. If he goes to Maurizio Sarri, I won't be at all disappointed, to be honest. I know Maurizio Sarri rated him a lot. That was a manager who really made him, look as good as he really was at Chelsea.
Yeah.
If he can go there with Kepa and kind of work alongside Milinkovic-Savic and other players and Correa, then it can really bring out the best of him. But yeah, if he goes to Lazio on loan, for me, if it's a loan permanent, say bye to Loftus-Cheek because, he's missed his opportunity at Chelsea. Me personally, if he wants to stay, I think he should stay at Chelsea this season. Next season, Thomas Tuchel, he can fight for his place in the attacking 8 role, double 6 role, inverted left forward, a front role, and show Thomas Tuchel in pre-season that he's a real deal, not be, scared of the challenge and go out on loan.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense because I've always argued if he believes his future lies at Chelsea, then he has to stay and fight for his place. You don't leave. Then you have to stay and develop under the manager who we all believe has a long-term future at Chelsea, play under him, get to understand the way he wants players to play, train with the team, and then you have a path to the first team. But the moment you leave alone, you're basically hitting the reset button and you're starting from zero. So that has always been my argument. So it doesn't make sense for him to, let's just believe that it's a rumor. He'd make that if he's making that decision after Tuchel looks at him and say, okay, you know what, I don't think there's a place for you in this team. Then we can all say, okay, that's it. It was the manager's decision. But if you're just deciding to go out on loan straight from Fulham, then, like you said, he's given up on his career at Chelsea. And that doesn't make sense at all. And that brings me to some Billy Gilmour's case. Like for instance, again, it wouldn't make sense if he decides to go on loan. If he does that, he's starting at zero. Because you lose every ground you've gained under Thomas Tuchel. Because Tuchel was the person, you didn't start games. When he took over, he didn't start games for a long time. And Tuchel watched him, saw that he's capable of doing it. He even talked about him during press conferences. And he gave him 2 chances, of which he took. He took the chances and proved, I'm capable of being in the first team. So it wouldn't make sense for him to go on loan right now. It will mean, like I said, resetting the whole thing that he's achieved under Tuchel, bringing it back to zero. And you coming back, you'd have to be exceptional on loan to come back and then walk back straight into the starting lineup. And on a final note, I want to ask you: do you think there's still that possibility for Loftus-Cheek to redeem his career? Because at 25, we can still say he still has time, to reach that. To reach the potential that we all know that he could reach. He has the talent. Like I said before, he's one of the most technically gifted talent ever to have come through the Chelsea Academy. So do you think he's capable of, rekindling that Loftus-Cheek that we all know and love?
Yeah, I think it is possible. We've already talked about all the possibilities of him leaving. I think there is still a possibility in pre-season under Thomas Tuchel after the Euros, maybe even before the Euros finishes. There's going to be some time for Thomas Tuchel to work with these players who have been selected by the national teams, who are a bit younger, who are coming back from loan, like, your Gallaghers, your Gurheys, your Loftus-Cheeks, your Batshuayis, all these other players. And yeah, Thomas Tuchel can maybe speak to him about it and say, if you come to this club, I need your full commitment. I don't want you to think about loans. I need you playing in a double 6, or I need you playing here, here, here. He can describe what he wants him. I want you to be that press breaker on my side who can break out of difficult pressure and be that technical player as well. I think there's definitely a possibility. He's only 25, like you said. It's not like we're talking about a Zappacosta, Drinkwater, who are 31, 32, 33, who, there's no choice from at all. Loftus-Cheek is coming up to his prime ages in his career. I even think if he goes on loan to Lazio, he has a good season, and Thomas Tuchel has a conversation with him and says, you've had a very good loan, now you can start for me. I think it can still happen. Anything can happen at this age. There's only 5 or so years left, I'll say, before he's kind of, his last decision is going to be made his final contract. Until then, anything can happen. Good preseason. Next season, you never know. There's even a possibility that he can come in and be a starter under Thomas Tuchel. You never even know what could happen. Anything will happen over preseason. Then preseason friendlies could happen, like the Brighton one at the start of last season, where Ziyech got injured. Loftus-Cheek could play in one of them kind of friendlies and maybe play really well. And we've seen in the past where players have done well in friendlies, like Barkley under Frank Lampard. He played well in the Red Bull Salzburg one. Then he came in against Man United in the first game of the season. So anything can happen right now. But for me, the higher possibility is that Kerp's going in a direction with signings. We're not signing squad players anymore. We're signing players who are going to improve us. And I don't think Loftus-Cheek really does that for me. He doesn't improve us. And yeah, for me, it's a high possibility. I'd say around 60% is Loftus-Cheek's career is over at Chelsea. 40%, there's still a chance for him to break in and be a key player. Because for me, what I've seen from him in the past is a really technically gifted, physical, amazing player from our academy that I can trust. So yeah, it's in the balance. Coachella, what do you think about it?
Like I said, he's just 25. So he's still got a few years, like 5 more years before we start being really concerned about him. I think his case stands out for the Chelsea fan base because he's so loved at the club. The fans love him so much that you can argue that we're the ones that actually pushed Sarri to start giving him and Colin Hudson-Odoi game time. So I haven't given up on him. Like the question was just to get your opinion and also to educate the fans that it's not all over for him yet. He's still got a few years to work hard and then get back on track and probably rekindle and come back to that Loftus-Cheek that we all used to know and love. So it's awesome to always talk football with you, and I am glad that you always find time, even though a game will be starting in a few minutes, and you always find time to be here to help me entertain and educate my followers. On a final note, Taron, do you have any message for the Chelsea fan base? Should Loftus-Cheek, if he goes on loan or if he comes back and starts the preseason with the team?
Yeah, for me, it's just about keeping an open mind. Don't be too set on him leaving or staying. I mean, if he wants to leave, be happy for him. He's done his best. I mean, you have to sympathise what's happened to his Achilles. And if he wants to stay, then let's, keep fighting for him like we have for the last few years. Show faith in him on football Twitter and Instagram. Let him know that we're there for him. And yeah, just keep an open mind with that, I'd say, probably with Loftus-Cheek. I mean, on another note, I'd say regarding my podcast, if you don't mind, Coachella, yeah, guys, if you are interested in Euro 2020 content at the minute, the Perfect Tactic podcast is the place to go. I currently host that.
I don't mind. Go ahead. Please give correct information any way you want to put it. This is your platform, Go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah. Guys, I've been running a podcast for the last 3 days and we'll be doing for the next 27 days of the Euro 2020s. We'll be reviewing the 3 games of the day before, 9 o'clock every morning UK time, talking about big talking points from the 3 games. And each day there'll be a special guest. On yesterday, we had Lionel Joel from Football YouTube. On Wednesday, we'll have Coachilla. On Tuesday, we'll have Miz from Outside of the Coin. On Friday, we'll have Tom Overham for Football Twitter. So each day there'll be a special guest, and maybe me and Arvid sometimes discussing everything. And the name is Your Only Fans on Apple or Spotify. So if you have enjoyed what you've heard from me and you enjoy my takes, then please check me out on Spotify and Apple. And every single day for the next 30 days, you can get all your Euro 2020 fix on the Perfect Tactic podcast on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify. Thank you, Coachella.
Okay, is there a way to get the direct link to that your podcast on Apple? Because I have the link to that of Spotify.
Yeah,
so I can add it to this. Okay, yeah. Okay, so if I get that, I will leave the direct link to his Spotify page and also Apple page so that you can check it out. And please make sure you check it out. It is very, very interesting perspective from great guests on each episode. I've listened to quite a few and I'm still listening to it. So I advise you do the same. And Taron, again, it's always a pleasure having you around here to tap into your knowledge of the game. I appreciate it. I can't thank you enough. So that is it, people. Please don't forget to comment, like, share the videos, and more importantly, click on the notification button so that you will be notified whenever I upload a new video. Again, it is me, Coachilla, and my guest, Taron, and I hope to see you here again. Cheers.
Thank you.